everybody, and welcome back to another review. It's been about a minute since I've done one, so I thought it was about time I braved the elements and sat in front of the camera. We are in winter here in Australia, and oh, it's a bitch. My health is just plummeting, so it's really hard to get motivated to write reviews and do video reviews, but I'm gonna do my best. Couple things I want to talk about before I get into today's review of Rocketman. P.S. It's awesome. That's the abridged version of my review. There are a couple. I just want to air some of my annoyances on the matter. One, I'm finding it a little tiresome that so many people who are reviewing this film are spending more time comparing Rocketman to Bohemian Rhapsody than they are actually talking about the essence of this film and, I hate this word, but I'm going to say nuances of this film and the ins and outs. Like, if something is, in my mind, if something is a remake or a reboot, then it kind of is fair when you compare it to something else. If something has blatantly copied another film, again, that's fair. But comparing these two biopics is getting annoying. I understand they have overlap in the sense that Elton John and Freddie Mercury were friends back in the day. I know that John Reid is a character who appears in both because John Reid in real life, he managed Elton John's career, and then for a time he was a manager of Queen, so I get that. I also know that the director of Rocketman, I believe he came in at the last minute and finished directing on Bohemian Rhapsody. Nevertheless, they are two entirely separate films that are not telling the same story or done in the same way. So the fact that people want to go, here's how they're the same, here's how they're correct, well, then you may as well start comparing every biopic and every action film with every action film, every horror film with every horror film, and it gets a little exhausting because I just want to hear about this singular film and what it did well and what it did right. I don't want to hear about Bohemian Rhapsody. Bohemian Rhapsody is in the past. It's done. It's over with. Who cares anymore? If you loved it, you loved it. If you didn't, you didn't. We're here to talk about Rocketman. So can we just focus on that, please? My second annoyance, and I came across this the other day, and I just about lost my mind, and I had to take to my Twitter to complain about it. Somebody did a review of Rocketman, and I don't feel like it was really a review and got it. And for starters, the entire thing was them dot point by dot point comparing Rocketman to Bohemian Rhapsody, so I was instantly annoyed. The second thing was that they were talking about that the reason why they, didn't hate but had a strong dislike for Rocketman was because none of the songs were depicted in a historically accurate manner. Oh Lord, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but watching this film, I thought it was pretty straightforward what they were going for. So Jesus. It's not, the way I describe it is, you kind of gotta look at it like Mamma Mia. It's a story being told through the music of ABBA. So in this case, it's a story being told to the music of Elton John. The music just happens to be Elton John's music. It's combining these two wonderful things because it's like, what better way to explain his life than through his music, which is what we all know and love him for most. And I thought it was done brilliantly. Okay, there are certain scenes, and one in particular, this isn't a spoiler, it's in the trailers, so if you haven't seen the trailers, then I guess it's a spoiler. He's performing in those like white overall things. Is the piano, is it the bar? What is that bar's name? I've already forgotten. Anyway, as he's singing, gravity no longer exists. The patrons are floating in midair. He's floating in midair. And it's like this out-of-body experience. And it's really cool. And if you were there and that ever actually happened, that would be awesome. Point is, This person got mad at that scene because he was performing Crocodile Rock, and Crocodile Rock had not been released yet. It had not been written yet, and it's like, oh my god, that was not the freaking point. Like, it's obviously not meant to be accurate in that sense, because if it was meant to be accurate, why the fuck did Earth suddenly turn off gravity and everybody is suspended in midair? Like, come on. There's a point where there's being critical, which I certainly am, and then there's a point where you're being critical about something that was designed to be that way. Am I making any sense here? I'm not sure if I am. What I'm trying to say is, if something goes in with a certain intention and they deliver that intention, you can't criticize it for doing what it intended to do. You can say you didn't like it, you can say you liked it, you didn't like it, you can say those things, but you can't get mad at it for doing exactly what it wanted to do. Are you with me? I don't know. I'm just getting, it's just a thing that when you're part of the film community, you occasionally come across things like this, and you just, I have face palmed so much lately, it's a wonder I don't have a concussion. I'm serious. But anyway, I'm done going on about this annoyance, so I will finally get into the review, which is why people would have clicked on the video in the first place. But anyway, so let's begin. Rocketman is a 2019 biographical musical film directed by Dexter Fletcher and written by Lee Hall. The film is based on the life of musician Elton John and follows his early days as a prodigy at the Royal Academy of Music to his musical partnership with Bernie Taupin. Rocketman is probably one of the best biopics I've ever seen, though admittedly I have not seen that many, but of what I've seen, this tops them all. Rocketman is a musical film extravaganza that keeps your toes tapping thanks to the many songs from Elton's career performed by the beautiful vocal stylings of actor Taron Egerton. It keeps you enthralled with its vibrant psychedelic visuals and pulls at the heartstrings by telling viewers the painful story and history of music legend Elton John. I loved every single aspect of this film, and not one of those aspects wasn't nailed to the fullest. This film has three approaches which, when brought together, create the perfect way to depict the life of someone with such a turbulent history. The film is told from the perspective of Elton as he shares his life with a group of strangers. As we go through his life, moments are performed to Elton's hits over the years, and the songs are carefully selected as each one embodies the essence of the scene it's used in. Each song selection was perfect and genuinely intensified their respective scenes and showcased the incredible talent of not only our lead but the entire cast. In other moments, the film transcends into this other world where it's neither a musical nor a biopic, but is more us, the viewers, visually experiencing Elton's music and life through his mind, this chaotic, colourful, magical world that has no rules. When each element is brought together, it is truly something to behold. The film doesn't shy away from showing the tragic side of Elton's history and demonstrates Elton's spiral into addiction, and manages to do so with respect, while certainly showing how catastrophic addiction is to sufferers and how it impacts their lives. Many films over-dramatize addiction for dramatic effect and do so at the expense of the story and the person they're trying to portray, or they hold back out of fear of being disrespectful. This film found the perfect middle ground, and the beauty is that we see Elton's journey of highs and lows, and he's hitting rock bottom but finding the strength to get himself back up and continuing to share his gift with the world, but as a happier, healthier person. This film features so many incredible performances, but none more incredible than Taron Egerton. I was on board from the beginning with Egerton playing Elton John ever since I heard his vocal performance to Elton John's I'm Still Standing in the 2016 animated film Sing. I still to this day love Egerton's performance of this song and knew he could do the role of Elton justice, and he did that in spades. He showed true reverence for the character, and he embodies Elton's style, his effervescence and artistic abilities. Egerton was able to transform into Elton and make viewers believe it, and to top it off, he gave some incredible vocal performances that was a perfect balance of being able to emulate Elton's authentic voice but still throwing in a bit of his natural cadence. I was thrilled to see this film shows what an integral role Bernie Taupin was in Elton's life. So many biopics will choose to leave out or ignore certain crucial people because they want to focus solely on the title figure, but our stories aren't made up of just ourselves. It's about the people who have influenced us and supported us and hurt us and altogether made us the people we are, and so you can't tell Elton's story without including Bernie. Jamie Bell did an excellent job of depicting Elton's longtime friend of 50 years. The film shows us this touching and uplifting friendship between two people who became a family. These two men have worked on 30 albums together in their career. You can't have an Elton John story without Bernie Taupin, and it was great to see him depicted as there for Elton's rises and falls and still there when it was all over. There was something genuinely comforting in seeing this. Bryce Dallas Howard was almost unrecognizable in her portrayal as Elton's cold-hearted mother, Sheila Eileen. Watching the depiction of Elton's upbringing and his relationship with his parents was undoubtedly a punch to the gut and echoed some of my own experiences. I found myself choked up several times and just wanting to reach out and hug him, and that tells me how well the film illustrated this part of his life. If a film or moments in a film resonate with you and they make you feel a strong type of way or bring back emotional memories, I take that as evidence of a job well done. I strongly appreciate this film not shying away from the fact it is the story of the life of a famously gay man, with it being the first major Hollywood production to show a gay male sex scene. We tend to see these big films about someone who was openly gay, and yet they seem to avoid showing anything that would depict them as such. Or if they do, there is an uncomfortable quality to them and they are rushed as if they just wanted it over with, but put it there because they felt they had to. Rocketman doesn't hold back and goes for it, and was able to give us a very tasteful and well-crafted scene that is just as good as any other sex scene. There was never hesitation or uncertainty in the performances of Edgerton or Richard Madden, who plays John Reed, which as two heterosexual actors tells me they took their roles in this film very seriously and made sure that scene came out looking as good as it did. I had no idea Richard Madden was going to be in this film and had to do several double takes while looking around going, oh my god, it's Rob Stark! He too does a tremendous job. You get sucked into his charismatic ways and his confident sex appeal, and then you start to see the facade begin to drop and realize this man is a nasty piece of work. You can tell right off the bat John Reed is not going to be a pleasant character, but Madden's performance was perfection, and how he slowly sheds away the pretense of a decent person was unsettling but impressive to watch. There was indeed nothing to dislike in this film. An incredible script, brilliant performance, stunning cinematography and direction with a soundtrack that celebrates the music of Elton John. Even the costumes were sheer perfection, from the way they showed us the evolution of fashion throughout not just Elton's career but each decade around the world was just so right. The work that went into replicating so many of Elton's iconic costumes was terrific, and only further demonstrates that this film is without a doubt a celebration and honouring of Elton's life, including his struggles, because without them he wouldn't be who he is today. If this film doesn't get considered at the Oscars, I believe people will take to the streets. Rocketman is a show-stopping film of epic proportions. Let me have my thoughts on Rocketman. Yeah, I have some songs that are, favorites of mine of Elton John, but I gotta say, the one that probably, this film really played all my favorite Elton John songs, especially closing it out with I'm Still Standing, which is my number one favorite Elton John song. But I think the song that really stuck with me most, maybe because of how it was used in the film, or maybe it was Edgerton's performance, I'm not entirely sure, but it was Yellow Brick Road. That one just kind of was stuck in the eardrum, and I definitely had to go and listen to it a few times when I got home. Not Edgerton's version, but Elton John's original version, and I'm just like, cool, let's listen to that again, and again, and again. It was such a good film, and very educational, because I did not know any of those things about Elton John. I never knew he had an addiction problem. I never knew any of that. I'm just like, yeah, Elton John, then you're watching this film, and I'm just like, oh shit. Man, he had it rough. But then you kind of get really happy when you realize, he's happily married and he has 2 children, and you're just like, oh, and then it makes you feel good because you're like, you know what, he really hit rock bottom and now life is pretty damn amazing. I mean, I love Elton John, and I've loved the kind of cameos he's done in film and television over the years. My favorites being one, his appearance in Will and Grace as head of the gay mafia. That was spectacular. And he had a small appearance in Absolutely Fabulous, which was also great. He's just such an amazing person, and I think that this film did a lot of respect to him and his life. And knowing that he was so hands-on in how this was filmed and what they were going to share, and the fact that he basically told Edgerton, he's just like, don't try to be me, you know, just be yourself. And I think everybody did a great job. So yeah, if you have not seen this, definitely go out to the cinema and check this out because it's awesome and it's definitely worth seeing on the big screen. Although, try and make sure you're not around a bunch of crazy people because best believe when Crocodile Rock came on, I had to watch two people go batshit crazy dancing and gyrating in recliner chairs that the entire cinema noticed. It was a small cinema, but everybody noticed. And then they later on were having a popcorn fight. I mean, seriously, people treating their cinemas like it's their fucking living room. It drives me nuts. Also, before I go, I have just started a Patreon account as my celebration of hitting 1,000 subscribers. The link to my Patreon account is in the description box and also on my main page. If you would like to support me and my channel, if you like what I do and you want to see more of it, then please hit that link. Head over and check out the 4 tiers that I have and see which one, you know, seems appealing to you. And for now, I will head off and I will say goodbye by thanking my current patrons. So, bye!